Hey guys, and welcome to Method's Guide of the Challenge Mode Everbloom. I'm Chris Potter, and here with me is Zerbs.
Hey guys.
As with all of our Challenge Mode guides, we're not using any trial tactics or bugs, and this is to show you a nice, clean, easy way to clear the instance that anyone can follow. Now going down this hill, you can see we're pulling a lot of mobs together, including the 2 mobs on the hill. And we use all our cooldowns here, and we AoE them down very fast, nice and quick. They do have some casts that you need to watch out for, but they're not really too dangerous. They're just more annoying than anything. There's the Enraged Grove and the Dancing Thorns and Barrage of Leaves, and 2 of them do damage, and the Enraged Grove just buffs a minion. But like I said, they're not really that dangerous. They're just very annoying because they're going to keep the mobs outside of the group and not allow you to AoE them down easily. So even though it's very tempting just to focus on AoE DPSing when all the mobs are together like that, you do want to watch out for which mobs are outside and interrupt them.
After finishing off the trash, we're gonna do probably one of the most well-known skips in dungeon history. It's up this way, and you don't want to do as Chris is doing right here. You actually want to get up the hill, but as you can see in the end here, he's gonna get some help from our friend Scribe. And we finally managed to get to the first boss. The first boss is called Witherbark, but before you can actually damage him or he becomes active, you have to kill these packs of mobs which patrol or protect these orbs that's gonna go into the boss and make him active. What I'm gonna do here is to pull as many as possible if you have a DK who has Mass Grip. These mobs have similar abilities to the ones you've just killed, but they have 2 new abilities as well. One is the Healing Waters, which obviously is the heal, and you want to interrupt that, and they have a tendency of casting it at the same time, so AoE interrupts as Blood of Silence or Solar Beam or any big AoE stuns is really nice to have here. They also have Choking Veins, which will target a random player, and if he gets a cast through, it will stun him for 10 seconds or until dispelled. So if the cast goes through, you want to dispel it immediately. And as you can see here, the boss becomes active and Ryan is going to pull it towards the wall here in the back. The reason he does this is because of the tank ability. The tank ability is going to cast here. It's called Pass Gasp. It's basically a frontal cone ability which will do a lot of damage to the tank and anyone standing in it. The boss also has another ability which you can see here. Chris gets an arrow above his head. It's called Unchecked Growth, and it will chase you. The vine in the ground will chase you until it hits you, and when it hits you it will spawn it, as you can see here to the left of Chris. And what you do with these is to make sure that the boss doesn't get 100 energy, because when the boss gets 100 energy he's going to go into phase 1 again, and he will take 100% less damage, because right now he takes 100% more. And these globules you can see in the ground is the reason you want to do this. They go towards the boss, and if they reach him it will give him 25 energy, but if they touch one of these here, you see it spawned an ad, and that ad is just a simple tank ad, nothing too major. We finish off the boss and we move on.
So you can see we're making our way back from where we came from, back towards the start of the dungeon. And then we take the path in the opposite way, down towards the hut that you will see on the left hand side there. Now on the path down there are some patrolling mobs that you can't skip, that we pull here. But there are lots of dread petals around as well, you can see to our left and up ahead. And you don't need to pull them, so just watch where you're running, don't run over them. You can see these mobs here. One of them again is similar to the mobs we had previously, that has the choking vines and the barrage of leaves and that kind of stuff. So just interrupt that as much as you can. And then the big 2 abomination mobs, they have this knockback, and you will see Ryan was getting knocked back a lot during this trash, getting knocked all over the place. That's Ryan tanking. And yeah, we do kill them off quite slowly because we don't use any cooldowns here. But we do eventually kill them off and make our way into the hut on the left. There's one mob standing outside the hut, and you do need to pull this, but everything else outside here you just don't pull, ignore it. Again, this mob just has the similar spells as the other mobs. You just want to interrupt them as much as possible. We use 1 minute cooldowns here and just AoE them down. Keep them interrupted as much as you can, and it's not really a dangerous pack. After this we are going to be coming to the second boss of the instance. So you don't want to use any big cooldowns here, you want to make sure they're ready for the boss. Now everyone probably knows this skip. I've actually never done this dungeon ever. even on the Wallet of Draenor beta, without doing this skip. Just running up the hill here, and then jumping down to the second boss of the dungeon. Now this second boss consists of 3 different mobs, and the first that we prioritize is Life Warden Gola. You see she gets a nice skull on her head. And this is because she has a healing ability called Revitalizing Waters. And this is just a standard heal that she'll cast. You can heal her or her allies, and you really want to interrupt it. Just make sure that's always interrupted, and that's 50% of the fight done right there. She has another annoying ability called Rapid Tides. And this puts a buff on one of her allies, which removes the cooldown for their abilities. So, again, this is an interruptible cast. You want to interrupt that if you see it. If it does go through, it applies a magic buff to them, and you can dispel that as well. You can see we do let one through here for a while on Earthshaper Tolu, and that's why the group's taking a lot of damage, because Earthshaper Tolu is having no cooldown on his abilities right now. And his probably most dangerous ability is Briar Skin. When he casts this, he's going to put a buff on one of his allies, causing them to always reflect damage when attacked. And this can do a lot of damage, and that's why the group dropped so low there. He also has another ability called the Bramble Patch, and this is just the patches you see around the fight, and it's a simple don't stand in it ability. An interesting note about them though is that if you use a reflecting damage ability like Grounding Totem or Deterrence with the Glyph, it will do quite a lot of damage back to the Earthshaper. Lastly, there's the Delu mob, and you can see he just has his grip ability. I just got gripped him. And then he'll do a slash after it in front of him, so just move out of that once you're gripped. And he also has an AoE knockback around him. He is the least dangerous out of the 3 really, and you just want to avoid his abilities and kill him off last.
After finishing off the second boss, we're gonna make our way to the third, which is the spider boss. This boss is skillable in heroic mode, but it's not skillable in challenge mode, so you need to kill it. I don't know if you killed it before, but it's really straightforward. What we wanted to do initially here was to skip the spider, but Brian decided that we wanted to pull it anyway, so we pull it down to the boss, because in this first phase, the boss doesn't really do much, or well, there's not much going on, so we might as well get this one in. As you can see here, she's gonna spawn some ads. And one of the ads is gonna fixate a random player, and you can see here Chris is fixated. If the spider gets to the fixated player, he will do an AoE damage to him and anyone around him. So you want to try and avoid that. The optimal way is to stand on this little island here that Chris is standing on right now, to make sure that the spider doesn't get out of the cave and the boss will eventually reset. As I just mentioned before, this boss is really frustrating. In phase 1, there's not much going on. You just kill spiders continuously, over and over. They don't really have any mechanic. They have the fixate and then they have the toxic bolt that casts on a random target. Not much going on. You'll also see that it's gonna spawn some pale ads sometimes. The idea behind these is that they're gonna go towards these toxic clouds you see, and they're gonna inhale them, which will give him a damage increase buff, but nothing out of that. You also have the small swipe ability here, which really isn't something major. I think you have to kill 8 waves of ads before you actually get into phase 2, so this can be dragged out for some time. But if you kill them up faster, the waves are obviously going to come down faster as well. And after killing off, or after she descended the 8th wave of ads, she's finally going to descend from the web herself. The boss has 2 tank mechanics. One is the Toxic Bolt, another one is the Venomous Sting. It just does some damage and the Venomous Sting will leave a dot on the tank, nothing too major. And here we see, she spawns the ad, the pale ad. What you want to do with this ad is to DPS it down low, but not kill it. Because the boss has another mechanic called Consume. And she will consume onto this ad. As you can see right here, she's going to cast it now. And if she gets the cast through and the ad doesn't die, she's going to heal herself for 25% of her max health. So the idea is to keep the ad really low and finish it off as soon as she starts casting it. If you however do kill it, she's gonna spawn another ad immediately, and that ad is gonna go towards her and she's gonna consume it immediately. So you really don't want that to happen. But if it happens and you have a mage and or a shaman in your group, you can just polymorph the ad or hex it and she will stop the cast as well. We finally finish off the boss and we move up towards the mage boss here. And as you can see, we have 28 out of 30 mobs here. So we really only wanted to kill 2 more mobs, but we wanted to clear an area here as well, so we don't get too stacked up and might accidentally pull them in the boss fight. The first one we pull is an ice mob, the second one is an arcane, and the third one is a fire. And they have Frostbolt, Arcane Blast, and Fireball as their main spell. And you see the small frost patches here on the ground, which will come from the frost ad. If you stand in those, you will get stunned for 3 seconds. And this pull here on our left is from the arcane mob. It will drag you towards it, and if you stand in it when it's finished, you're gonna take massive damage. And the fire mob has this Dragon's Breath. The Dragon's Breath is really annoying to deal with, especially as a melee. What she will do is that she'll cast it and then spin around herself. And if it hits anyone, they will get disoriented for 3 seconds, which really isn't something you want, especially on your tank, because your tank is gonna die off really fast if that happens. After finishing off them, we get the images and the boss will spawn.
Now when you pull the boss, you're going to be starting in the fire phase. And in this phase, her primary ability is just to spam fireball at the tank. She will also spawn these fire plants that you'll see spawning to my left here. And these will send out waves of fire that do a lot of damage to you if they hit you, but they can be completely avoided by jumping over them. She will cast more and more of these throughout the fight, at least while she's in the fire phase, and you can easily avoid all of them by just spamming jump. Now here she's casting Parasitic Growth, which we let through. If she completes the cast, as we let her do, she will gain a buff giving her more damage in the phase she is in, but she will not change phase. However, you can see with the Parasitic Growth here, we interrupt the cast, and she doesn't get a damage buff, but she will change into the second phase, which on this fight is the Frost phase. In this phase, she just swaps the fire circles for a blizzard effect, and her fireball changes into a frostbolt. There is a third phase on this fight, in an arcane phase, but if you reach that phase, you're probably going to die. She does big AoE damage in that phase, and you don't really want her to go into it, so try and kill her off while she's in the frost phase.
And after that boss, we're gonna make our way to the last boss. We really didn't want to pull this mob here, but I decided to blink straight into it, so we might as well just kill it. It doesn't really slow us down because we have to wait for the NPCs to break the veins here behind us before we can get up to Yalna, the last boss. Again, it's the frost mob, does the stun on the ground, which you have to avoid, and the frostbolt on the tank. Nothing too major. And the NPCs finally break the veins for us, and we can get to the last boss here. What you want to do here is pre-pot as early as possible, maybe even before you go into this portal. Because when the boss gets in position down the hill, you're gonna get into combat immediately. So you can see here we get in, and you just want to use everything here. You want to use Lost, even though we didn't, because I don't think we realized we had it up. But yeah, just every single cooldown, pot, everything. As you can see here, the first ability is the Colossal Blow. It's a frontal cleave from the boss, and it will stun anyone standing in it for 5 seconds and deal significant amount of damage, so simply just move out of it.
And you can see here, he is casting his other ability called Genesis, and this is causing these flowers all over the ground. You can see that we're running over here and running over them to soak them up. If you don't soak them and he finishes his cast, all these flowers are going to turn into extra mobs that you have to deal with. And honestly, there's already enough ads to deal with on this fight, so you want to soak them up and give your tank an easier time. So these two big mobs that are unavoidable, they will always come no matter what you soak. They just have a breath attack, and your tank just needs to face them away from the group. and you can just cleave them down. There's no need to burst them down or anything like that, just let them cast and cleave them down. The same with this big tree ancient mob. You can also just cleave this down, and your tank just needs to face it away. Now, with the entanglements, they can go on a player or an NPC. You can see there it went on an NPC and we focused it down really fast still. This is because the NPCs actually help you out quite a lot during this fight. They deal a decent amount of damage to the boss and the ads. And obviously if it's a player, it's even worse because the player can't do anything in that time. But yeah, just always focus on getting the entanglements out first. Here we get the second Genesis, and again we start soaking the flowers. But you can see the boss is very low and he's going to die just as this ends. Thanks for watching guys, and we hope you found this video useful. As always, we appreciate you leaving feedback and liking the video. We look forward to seeing you next time. Bye guys.
Bye guys.